Accountability in the professional sphere is fundamental to growth and integrity.
So I definitely feel if you're in a leadership position today, you've got to make sure you're creating that space because no one's perfect, and don't live off assumptions. Make sure your message is clear.
Setting and pursuing goals is a dynamic process that requires focus, adaptability, and resilience.
When we had to onboard all of our workforce to remote and be flexible, that innovative thinking happened within our own organization.
Sharing our experiences with accountability can inspire a culture of integrity and continuous improvement in the business community.
People will do their best work when they feel very supported. So I think bridge building is kind of a multitude of factors.
Welcome back to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast, where insights meet impact. I'm your host, SK, and today we are thrilled to have Dominique Sterling from CDW, a master of melding psychological science with leadership to drive transformative results across various sectors. In this episode, we delve into Dominique's world, exploring themes like professional accountability and the power of innovative thinking. Join us as we unpack the strategies that have fueled growth and success at CDW and learn how these insights can empower your business journey. Tune in for a session full of actionable advice and inspiring stories. Dominic, welcome to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me.
It's a great pleasure to have you in your studio. How is the weather outside today?
It's quite hot, very nice, sunny, great vitamin D opportunity out there.
Yeah, it's all like everyone is waiting for this kind of, weather.
Yeah, definitely in Toronto, Canada, you're just sitting, waiting around for those days of sun. So you pack your bags and you're just going outside all day. It's great.
Dominic, we believe today your expertise lights up our studio. Your work in spearheading innovation and nurturing talent at CDW has set a new standard in the industry. We are all set to unpack your unique perspective on professional accountability, the art of bridge building, and more. Could you kick things off by giving our listeners a glimpse into your background and the journey you have taken in your career so far?
Oh, wonderful. So my name's Dominique Sterling. I've been at CDW Canada as a seller and leader for around 9 years. Before that, I was in retail sales as I pushed myself through university and through college. So my background has always been just really fascinated with human condition. So my major in psychology, I was able to go into behavioral science technology at George Brown. So basically diving into reinforcement, punishment, all of that stuff from the B.F. Skinner School of Thought. And it really worked so well when it just came to sales. Then it kind of bridged into where business actually really does need an insight into what people are thinking and what people motivations are. So that's also kind of where I've started. But CDW is kind of catapulted what you can do with technology, what you can do with businesses from small to large to enterprise, and what you're also seeing in the industry. So constantly seeing innovation was just been so inspiring. You want to be the first to talk about it. But you also want to find the right match. That's like a puzzle. So that's kind of where I've got my mark. And I feel really excited to be here to talk about all of the learnings that I've had and all of the things I think people can kind of take into the next days.
It's truly inspiring, Dominic, the transition from psychology to business and sales. Now, let's start our discussion with professional accountability. Accountability in the professional sphere is fundamental to growth and integrity. Could you share a time when you had to own up to a mistake at work? Like, how did you handle the situation and what did you hear and learn from it?
Yeah, big mistakes, right, are our best times to learn and to grow from. So as much as it is the worst feeling sometimes, because you want to be perfect, you want to make the right moves, and you want to make and say the right things. The best kind of mistakes that I've made have always catapulted me and made me feel like I can learn a lot from them. So I always want to say to everyone that I work with, we safe space, make mistakes, really admit to those mistakes. Really, that's the best way to kind of get around them, bring in the right people to talk about what happened, and then push forward and knowing where you need to improve. And then everything else kind of falls into place. So I was, thinking about mistakes just in general as daily. I kind of, don't read an email very well, or you don't respond to something because you've missed it, you read it. So those little smaller mistakes, what I would say is more organizational mistakes where you're not organizing your time. But I think one of the more impactful mistakes that I could kind of think about was having to set up a partner event for customers, for my partner, and for my team, and having a theme in mind where I thought it was going to be really compelling around security. And so after a conversation was kind of done about the whole event, I made the assumption that, my words and my thoughts were kind of already notate. People kind of knew where we were going. I felt like I delegated and everything was good. And I completely missed on following up on the instruction. And I had that assumption that, okay, they've got the instruction, they're great. And that was where kind of things started to fall apart. And I started to realize I can't always assume a message is delivered really seamlessly in one meeting. It's sometimes you've got to make sure you're following up. You've got to make sure you hear people rephrase back to you what you've said so you can see how they've incorporated your conversation, right, into the next steps. And so it kind of brought the event back a bit. We had a time scale and we had to go back in and do another meeting. I straight up apologized. So I was very I really should have followed through with this. And I don't want to say it's on you to not listen to me or things like that. It's really going through and making sure your message is clear. So although it was a bit of a time sink, we came back into where we needed to go. We all were on the same page. It made, I think, things more clear. And it actually was a very seamless event and it worked out really well. So that made me think, okay, it was kind of an annoying mistake. And I hate that I made that assumption, but it really worked out in the end to streamline everything. We all felt very successful at the end.
Right. As the saying goes, if you're not making any mistakes, you're not learning anything new.
Absolutely.
So even when I hosted my first event in Metro Toronto Convention Center in downtown Toronto, I also and our team made a mistake by not having a proper coordination with the AV team. And after that we'll learn, after that we delivered very good experienced events, everyone learn from the mistakes. If you're not making any mistakes, as the saying goes, you're not doing anything new. And Dominic, how has this experience influenced your approach to leadership and mentorship within your team?
Yeah, it's to your point, everyone saw that mistake happening and they kind of were able to learn from it, even if it wasn't their own mistake, right? They were living through leaders' mistakes. What I put as a theme for my team last year was, if you're not failing, you're not trying. So I really wanted to say that it's okay to make these mistakes. If we're not going to be able to grow, and you're not challenging yourself, right? Because even if it's something that's the first thing you've ever tried, you're not going to be perfect at it. You're going to have to find some learnings in it. So I really bring to my team a safe space to make these types of mistakes, to have these types of failures, so to speak, but I don't see them as failures. I honestly just think they're builders for you, right? They're going to allow you to pivot yourself into places where you're going to do really well. You're going to kind of reshape how you approach the next problem, and then you feel more confident. So I definitely feel if you're in a leadership position today, you've got to make sure you're creating that space, because no one's perfect, and don't live off assumptions. Make sure your message is clear.
Right. I like your line, they are not failures, they are builders.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I believe, your experiences really highlight the value of accountability, not just as a personal principle, but as a cornerstone of effective leadership. Now, in 2024, the integration of generative AI, and the advanced data analytics is revolutionizing productivity as well as the accountability within every business, enhancing operational efficiency and strategic decision making. Simultaneously, emphasis on robust data security practices is critical to maintaining integrity and building trust across professional relationships. Reflecting on the power of accountability, it's clear how owning our own actions and learning from them can lead to profound growth, not just for individuals, but for entire organizations. To our listeners, I encourage you to think about a moment of accountability in your own journey. How did it shape your path forward? Sharing our experiences with accountability can inspire a culture of integrity and continuous improvement in the business community. Now, let's discuss about bridge building. Fostering collaborative relationship is essential in today's interconnected business environments. In your experience, Dominic, what's the key to developing, strong collaborative relationships across different areas of an organization?
Really good point around the interconnectedness can be very comprehensive. It can be very complex, but it's so important that we're making sure that those things are connected really well. My passion around just understanding people and where they're coming from, I find is a really effective way to build bridges. back to the idea of making assumptions. You really don't want to. In any of these new technologies come up, any generative AI, some people are really worried about what that means, or even back in the day where people were worried about what cloud meant and why would we transition there. You have to go in and understand what that technology is doing, but to bridge building, understand who knows those technologies, understand what their roles are, what their responsibilities are. When you understand that, and then also a business problem, and at CDW we're constantly seeing a business problem through. And when you understand that problem, understand the role, the organization's ability, how much people are there to help with that solution, how many people we need to bring in, what's the landscape and the assessment, all of that means that you really have to ask the right questions. So I think bridge building really comes down to asking the right questions, understanding people's roles and responsibilities. What are their, are they going to clock out at 5? Well, that's okay, but you've got to kind of know where they are so you're flexible. And then really kind of building a medium, like what's the best way to have these meetings? Who's going to be taking the notes? When are we going to be having follow-up? Really kind of orchestrating that. People will do their best work when they feel very supported. So I think bridge building is kind of a multitude of factors, but those are the ones that I would definitely say are like the top of my list when I do my bridge building exercises.
Right. And the two important points you just highlighted are the asking the right questions and, being flexible. That makes, relationship more, fruitful for any business operations or anything on the project that you're working on. Dominic, can you give an example of a successful collaboration you facilitated and the impact it had?
Yeah. A lot of my work today is helping my customers and my team see through a problem, a business challenge. And sometimes a business challenge kind of is hiding behind like a small little symptom, a small little request for hardware, for software. But there's something behind that. So really asking the question around the need behind the need. In most cases, it's not really a big deal. It's just getting a license updated or something of that nature. But there was a particular example where we had a request for just upgrading some hardware, but when we found out that it was actually to stay within compliance and governance so that their contracts could be signed for future work, that became, okay, this is not just going to be us sending out this particular hardware. We need to understand how much personnel is available. What is the cost of this going to be? How is everyone going to implement? How long is it going to be? And it actually became this larger challenge, but that was really fun because it wasn't just going to be something super surface level. It's now going to actually effectively help close more contracts, allow our customer to do more with less, and then have a support of a team that CDW has that's just going to help build expertise. So they knew that they can come back to us and say, this is a problem we're not too sure about. Now that we're kind of unfolding this, where do we go? And we understand where they wanted to go. It's not that we look at every single situation or business and assume the same thing. It's where are they looking to go and what can they do feasibly within this first year, within the next 3 years, within the next 5 years. So that one was really, I would say this project is still ongoing because when you start to invest in these things and you start to line things up, it will take time to really say it's been done because they'll evolve. And it's actually the best, the reason I love CDW, the best way to be here is to know that it's constantly moving and nothing is ever really done. It's just, you get to a point, you finished it, and now, okay, what's the next thing that
Right.
we'll all take a break we'll have a nice weekend and we're going to go back to it.
Right. I believe the art of bridge building, as you have outlined, not only enhances organizational cohesion but also drives collective success. The art of building bridges across different facets of an organization is truly a skill worth mastering. As we navigate the complexities of today's business world, fostering collaborative relationship is more important than ever. I'd love to hear from you, our listeners, about your own experiences with collaboration. How have you broken down silos within your organization or network to achieve a common goal? Your stories could light the way for others working towards the same unity. Now, moving on, let's discuss about the goal setting. Setting and pursuing goals is a dynamic process that requires focus, adaptability, and resilience. When it comes to setting personal and professional goals, how do you stay focused and track your progress?
Professional and personal goals. I really believe in marrying the two. With all of the schooling around psychology and behavioral science, the factors are you don't want to have a very, very, very challenging goal because then you're not going to want to see it through. But you also don't want it to be so detached from what you can do every day, right? These need to be bite-sized things. You can't really overhaul your life. So make it very challenging so you can achieve it, but also make sure that it's attainable to some extent. And I really do see it as when you break down smaller pieces to the overall goal, then you're going to be more likely to actually achieve that goal. So when you kind of think about marrying personal professional, I want to be as enthused about my professional goal as I would a personal, because that's really how beautiful business is made. When you really see it as your life, you will now marry those two things. So yes, I need to make sure I get up at 6 a.m. and do my Pilates class so that I can have the energy to make sure I have an effective day with my work. Those are now married goals. So that's kind of the fundamentals I like to see is like bite-sized goals, making sure it's a large goal, but it's attainable, and also that it speaks true to your actual personal life.
Okay. And do you have any tools or practices that you recommend for effective goal management?
Well, technology's got so many tools out there. So I would say you're going to have to find a lot of different apps and try them out. But if an app has
A
the
lot of
ability,
different options are available right now.
oh, there's so many. There's so many apps out there. So that's also great because you can look at what works for certain goals. I think as long as you can have, I would also like to think even AIs and apps are ability to have an accountability partner. Normally, accountability partners from a career coach or a mentor. You've got someone that you can talk through your goals and what you've done, and they can help keep you on track. But you also now have your phone that can remind you that you haven't had 10,000 steps. So where I kind of want to make sure anything that you choose, whether it's a detailed calendar that you're just writing through at the end of the day, what you've accomplished towards that goal, or it's an accountability partner, those are the two things I like to make sure you've got a goal that's outlined, you've bite-sized goals, and you're using something to track that. So a lot of people like to still write things down because it keeps it fresh in your mind, but then nice wearables give you that reminder, right, of something that you need to do. And that can go as further as making sure it's actually reminding you of your calendar and things of that nature. So use AI, use technology to help you with those things.
Right. I think it's a combination of different tools, right? Like even though nowadays also I personally use a diary, like as well as I'm using a tool by an AI. So it's always depends on your personal choice, but it should be like, everything should be collective towards the text towards the goal. I believe, Dominic, like, your insights into goal setting shed light on the disciplined yet flexible approach required to achieve ambitious objective. Thanks for sharing your insights on this important topic. Thank you everyone for tuning into the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. We are going to take a short break. Stay with us and we will be right back with more insights and stories from the heart of small business.
You dreamt big. You made the leap. You and your "we're not stopping at small" business. Doesn't matter you've never done it before. You unlock those problems. You adapt to change. You learn to evolve. You're pioneers in challenging times, finding your own frontiers. Wherever you e-commerce, UPS is with you. So nothing is going to hold you back.
Nope.
Constant Contact delivers the marketing tools your small business needs to keep up, excel, and grow. Constant Contact, helping the small stand tall.
Welcome back to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. Let's continue our journey into the inspiring world of small businesses, full of innovation and passion. Now, moving on, let's discuss on the root cause analysis in business solutions. Understanding and addressing the underlying cause of challenges within an organization is essential for sustainable growth and improvement. Could you discuss the importance of root cause analysis in your work at CDW and how it helped in creating effective business solutions?
Yeah, root cause analysis, for those that don't know, is when a problem is actually has a kind of invisible root. And so what you're seeing as a problem is a symptom of something that's even bigger. So root cause analysis is finding out what the root is and what then is erupting from that particular issue.
Going to the bottom, right?
Right
Yeah.
to the bottom.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times you know that's going to be probably a more of a messier kind of an engagement.
It takes a lot of time and effort to go to the root.
Right. And it also patience, right? You really have, and all that whole, and a discovery, right? Being curious about discovering what that root is. And then, really loving the fact that when you build and work through business challenges, you're finding better ways to be efficient. It allows for more engagement, allows for just feeling better about the work that you're doing, right? So I would say after kind of thinking about what root cause analysis is, really diving into the root of that will allow you to streamline, save cost. You'll find a lot of great ROI, and then you really kind of embrace a lot more engagement. You feel like you're not necessarily fixing something with a Band-Aid, and then in 2 months you have to go back in and start to fix something else. You're starting to see more problems.
It will keep happening again and again, right?
In different ways. It's such a time sink, and it not even just time, resources, it is a morale sink, right? So those are when we have customers coming up with challenges, when it's internal in our organization, when you've onboarded a new software, you really have to look at is what's that root cause that it's helping with. And yes, you're going to have to bench some things for when you actually can put it on, but it's making sure you see that and then making sure all those steps and those particular goals and those tasks are aligning to it. So you'll get to it one day, right?
Right. Following on that, Dominic, can you share a specific instance where applying as you discussed about the root cause analysis, led to a significant, breakthrough or improvement for your client?
Yeah. Where I can bring an example would be just investing in software technologies. A lot of renewals come up and as a business, you're just wanting to make sure you stay on top of what renewals are up. But you don't realize that there's new and improved licensing structures that actually could counteract different things that are going on. So then you have to wonder, why am I renewing a certain license? Is it maybe I'm masking is it just to renew a license, or is there a deeper problem? Could this license actually help with a lot of different things going on in my organization? An example we've had in just like my recent memory is we had a customer that was looking at solving something with a license and application. And it was like, are we solving for the symptom or are we solving for the root cause? And it was in fact going to be I would say sunken cost for that license, when in fact we needed a new structure and an entirely new application to solve for the root. And so that was going to save money over time. So the ROI was very obvious, but the root cause was never there in the first initial renewal. So it was nice to be able to kind of see that this is actually going to go on for 5 years. It's going to help support human resources. It's going to help support the actual sales team and CRM team, and then it's going to help the IT user support team. So it all actually ended up wrapping up itself really nicely. All for us to actually say, what are you renewing this for, and what does it touch, and is there actually another symptom that we're missing? So that was really those are the fun things about just working with businesses.
I believe your emphasis on root cause analysis really illustrates its critical role in not just solving immediate problems, but in fostering an environment of continuous learning and development. I think which is very, very important for any business development and growth.
You're so right.
Yeah. Now let's discuss about innovative thinking in today's business environment. Like in a rapidly evolving business landscape, innovative thinking is not just an asset but a necessity for staying ahead.
Mm-hmm.
How do you cultivate and encourage innovative thinking within your team at CDW, and what impacts has this had on your service offerings?
Yeah, so where the team comes together and shares, that's really been important. Having, if it's just a meeting or if it's making sure you've got, you're highlighting some of the really awesome new wins we've had, that's been where I find that cultivates that, hey, let's share what's new, what's innovative. I think it's also important for setting time for new technologies and how we're learning about those emerging technologies. There's so much out there. So it's really kind of looking at what the industry is asking for, what is out there, and then making sure we're having a nice kind of training session on that. But how I really kind of say from a personal level, from a accountability level with each of my team members and just anyone that I've worked with in the past is be courageous to ask questions. Don't assume anything within any of your engagements. Also be consistent with that. You don't necessarily want to create this environment where it's assumed that you're just going to just take something at face value. You want to make sure you're always deepening your understanding of a certain question or a certain problem. And so also, after being curious, after being consistent, just being confident, right? You're not necessarily always going to know everything. It's impossible to know all of the new IT and all of the new things that are coming out here. So being confident in knowing what you do know and then being, courageous to go in and learn more about what is out there. Those are the building blocks, because in my 9 years, like there's so much that's transformed. And the best way to kind of dive in and feel good about it is to ask those questions and realize where things are going and how it looks. And not all of these technologies that came out 9 years ago are still here, but they have learnings with them. And so I try and foster my team to really share and really just dive in and ask those questions.
And how do you keep them motivated?
Yeah, well, motivation, I will say from a psychology background is the best motivation is intrinsic. So everyone's got a reason that they're waking up today to do their job, and everyone's going to want to do their best job. So where do they find that capability? Where do they find that confidence? Where does that feel as easy, but then also as rewarding? So how I try and motivate my team is really understanding everyone one-on-one personally. I can't assume they're going to want to do anything other than what they feel the best at. So I like to make sure that I align all of that with what they're looking to do. And then making sure that it's there. Extrinsically, we're all here to make sure that we can afford the cost of living. But that's always moving, that's changing. And I don't necessarily feel like I control those things. So I always like to just make sure I understand where those internal motivators are, how that links to what they can do day to day. And ultimately, there's a balance, right? Like how much are you challenging yourself? That feels really great because you've gotten through a challenge, but then how much is comfort? Because you do need comfort. I would consider Stephen Covey's quadrant, right? Where do you feel you've had a moment to breathe, where you feel comfortable in your decision making, you feel comfortable in the task, but then where are you challenging yourself in the day? And where are you prioritizing? But where are you also spending a lot of time burning out, feeling like you're in crisis mode? So when you really can find someone's motivation of like where they find their best work, and you couple that with some of the things that they don't want to do, you can get them into, I would say, a more engaged world, less burned out, and then overall more effective.
Right. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on that, especially on motivating your team. Now, as everyone knows, the customer needs are evolving on on a daily basis, you can say, with the current new technologies that are coming up. Uh, how has the innovative thinking at CDW you just discussed, led to new or improved services that address these customer needs?
Great question. I hate always bringing back the COVID world because it was just so daunting for all of us. But when we had to onboard all of our workforce to remote and be flexible, that innovative thinking happened within our own organization. And then that's where we went and said, how are we helping our customers in this really trying time do the same thing we've done? And so being able to kind of elicit that type of response in that was where I can say right away, I think innovative thinking is how we've done it ourselves. So we're a very we're customer focused at the center of what we do, but we go first. So if there is a new technology to be onboarded, or if there's something that's new, we want to take it on and understand it before we start to offer it to certain customers in certain situations. So innovative thinking is really just being at the top of the industry, having the respect from our partners and from those in the industry to come to us with these new technologies, and for our experts on our bench to really work through where does it fit, why does it work, are there risks to that? Are there, a lot of gains? What are the actual costs to it? So that comes with what we've been doing since, 36 years. It's constantly there. It's actually hard to leave an end of my workday and think I have not learned what's new or something is new coming up. Like it's every single day. It's quite amazing.
Okay. And what is the best way for our listeners to learn more about CDW and its services?
Our website is a power engine. Like there's so much on our website that I would say is if you have any understanding about or no understanding of CDW, jump on, take a look. We've got really great stuff there. But so start with our website. If you don't have an account manager already, we definitely will want you to reach out and let us get you assigned to someone so that they can kind of spearhead your discussions and build the bridges to our different SAs. That's where I would say you're going to learn the most about CDW. And then as you start to work with us, you'll start to realize the potential you can use CDW to help.
For sure, we will also be adding the contact details within our podcast discussion. Innovation is the lifeblood of progress in any field, especially in business. Dominique's insights into nurturing an environment where innovative thinking thrives are truly inspiring. What innovative practices have you or your business adopted to stay ahead of the curve? Whether it's a new approach to solving an old problem or a groundbreaking product that meets emerging needs. Your innovative stories are a testament to the power of creative thinking in driving success. Let's share and celebrate these moments of innovation together. Dominic, as we near the end of our conversation, could you tell us more about CDW's recent accomplishments, such as the BTEX hands-on demo and labs, and how these initiatives are shaping the future of IT solutions?
So where we are always hearing about new things, we want to make sure that we're putting our customers in front of the best and the newest technology so that they're aware of what's coming, right? So our hands-on lab and demos where we'll really have all of our customers come in, try out some of the technology, see how it works for their needs, ask questions, have subject matter experts there. So that's something that we like to do within each region. So it's not going to be, sometimes if you're going to do it in person, it's definitely going to be regionalized. We also have a lot of different things that are just webinar based, so anyone can tune in to continue their education. And that's also going to be partnered with partners. So that's really exciting, and I think that's really helpful. I've seen a lot of people send over and over again different ones to learn more. And then just the BTEX piece is our tech expo, but we also offer tech expos within our Calgary offices, within British Columbia. So we try and be everywhere in Canada that we can, and that's where I think a lot of our customers can come out, see new technology, see where it's headed, ask the right questions. And that's kind of the beauty of how we build our model, right? Like what is the current issue at hand and how can we help make it easy to get on with business as usual?
Dominic, thank you so much for joining us today and for the wealth of knowledge and experiences you have shared today. It was a great pleasure hosting you.
Thank you so much. It was great being here, and I look forward to tuning into this podcast and all the others that you are hosting. It's a really great initiative.
Thank you so much. A heartfelt thank to our partners, RBC, UPS, Zero, and Constant Contact for their unwavering support. To our listeners, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Canadian SME Small Business Magazine, to catch more episodes that dive into the critical aspects of professional accountability, bridge building, and innovative thinking, just like today's discussion with Dominique Sterling from CDW. Visit our official website, CanadianSME.ca, to stay updated and keep the insights flowing. We are eager to bring you more engaging content, so please share our podcast and help us reach a wider audience. If there is a specific topic you like us to discuss or explore, drop us a comment. Your feedback drives our discussion. Until next time, keep setting goals, building bridges, and pushing the boundaries and what's possible in your businesses. See you in the next episode.